Hey, how's it going? My name is Neil Parfit, and this video is my 6-month in update on using the 2019 Mac Pro. So this year has been something else. January, Apple releases a computer, finally, after 7 years, to cater to the pro market. Then COVID kicks in. Then the entertainment business is ground to a halt. Then I'm stuck inside, obviously eating and snacking. I mean, look what happened to me. And then Apple's like, hey, we're switching to ARM-based processors pretty soon. Surprise! So people are asking me, was it worth switching to this machine? And my answer to that, even with all those variables, is yes, because there was no other offering on the Mac side that was powerful enough, and I just had to get on with work, so I had to buy the tool that's available, and here we are. If you weren't here 6 months ago, that's totally fine. Basically, what I did was consolidate multiple Mac Pros of the previous generation with a whole bunch of outside peripherals and collapse it down into one system. And that was my sort of goal of doing this. If any of you out there had the previous generation, you know we were waiting a long time. So as soon as Apple announced this machine, I was like, holy crap, let's do this. And I just decided to document the whole process. And it wasn't an easy ride, but let me tell you where I'm at. So just to recap on the specs of the machine, it's a 2019 Mac Pro rack mount version, 28-core processor, 384 gigs of RAM, and I have a bunch of M2 SSDs on the inside on a third-party carrier board. The system drive is a 1 terabyte SSD from the factory, and the video card is stock. It's the basic version, but with that, I can run 3 4K monitors at 60 Hertz, and it looks great. So moving forward. So 6 months ago, when I was doing this whole thing, it was because I had a little bit of downtime right before 2 television series kicked in. So I was like, okay, I will tear my studio apart, change everything out, figure out all the kinks, and then I can hit the ground running when my series starts. And that's what I thought would happen. And then, of course, COVID happened and everything just sort of fell flat on its face. So I didn't know where things were at. I wasn't too sure if all the contracts were going to be permanently canceled, and I was freaking because with the computer and all the outside peripherals and stuff, I spent almost 50 grand doing this. And I was in a bit of a panic, to say the least. I was like, uh-oh, what am I going to do? But thankfully, in the last 3 months, both shows have kicked into gear, and between the two of them, I've completed 18 episodes. So I've really put this computer through its paces. One show is really busy, orchestral, sort of goofy writing. So there's millions of tracks. And the other show, it's a lot of synth work, some editing, and like mix prep for Dolby Atmos. So a lot of leaning on Pro Tools, high track counts, a lot of stuff going on. So between those two shows, I've been really pushing it. And let me tell you how it is. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about performance, because again, this is like a 7-year jump since the previous generation. And again, I was coming from 2 computers and now I'm on 1. Honestly, this is the first time I've used Logic and Pro Tools and these apps where I haven't had to think about the computer at all. Like, it's literally been invisible. I just keep stacking on whatever processes, be it plugins or virtual instruments I need, and it just keeps taking it. And that's literally never been a thing. So far, in like 99% of the situations, I just keep adding what I need and I don't even think about it. I'm like, oh, I need another 20 Omnispheres? Okay, no problem. And you just keep stacking them up and it just keeps working, which is kind of amazing. And I know it sounds so trivial, but you got to think of where we were working on modern shows and modern requirements with 7 to 10-year-old computers. It was getting to be cumbersome and just bogging down the machine, waiting, and all these things. And I will say, though, on the 28 core, it's a 2.5 gigahertz chip. And I have noticed on a few plugins, it will pin CPU cores, but I've found ways to sort of navigate around it. And the odd time I'll offline render a track if the contact sound has so much scripting that it just needs to be rendered. But that's so far and in between that it's irrelevant, honestly. Number 2, let's talk about stability. This computer is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The only time I restart is when I install a piece of software that forces a restart. But otherwise, I leave up my applications, my sample libraries, Vienna, all those things are just on and up and ready to go. The only thing I haven't tested is putting the computer to sleep, but I have so many PCIe cards, the computer's full, and there's just so many moving parts with all those cards. I'd rather just leave the computer on. And to be honest, I've never had much success outside of my laptop with sleeping at a computer because I have had so many peripherals all these years. So again, I might be paying a little bit more power in the long run, but it's worth it just having the machine on and ready to go at any moment. Number 3, so my 2 primary applications that I use for all my work is Logic X and Avid Pro Tools Ultimate. So let's start with Logic. So far, so good. I have massive templates with hundreds and hundreds of instruments, and I just keep throwing everything I got at it, and I have yet to crash the application. Like, it's just on and it works, and the way it should be, to be honest. Pro Tools is a little bit of a different story, and it's not all Avid's fault. macOS Catalina, I hate it so much. This is like the one thing that's irked me right from the beginning. When they initially showed demos of the machine, it was running Mojave. And for people in the audio business, everything was working fine on Mojave. And a lot of stuff still doesn't work properly on Catalina. Hey, it's a professional machine. Let's just roll out an OS that nothing supports properly. And that's exactly what Apple did. They basically did a force a hand with this OS. You can't downgrade to a previous version, even though, the uninformed at Apple say you can, but they're absolutely wrong. You can't roll back the machine. So all of a sudden, a lot of features in some apps don't work. And the most critical ones for me is in Avid Pro Tools, where you can't import audio from a movie and you can't export a QuickTime video. Like, 2 really simple things I use all the time to run off screeners for clients, to import assembly audio from a QuickTime, whatever. It's something that used to take seconds. And now I've had to use third-party applications to solve these problems. When before it was just like putting on a pair of socks or something. You didn't even think about it. It just worked. And I don't know why Avid's dragging their heels, but it has been 8 months since the system came out. It's still not fixed. They released an update 2 days ago, and that's not addressed. And Catalina has been out for almost a year, since the betas. Why have they not fixed it? I don't know if it's one of those things where they can't fix it, they don't want to fix it, or if they're just waiting until Big Sur comes out. But way to go, Avid, for punching your professional users in the teeth. It's so mind-boggling why they haven't fixed it. Anyway, that's really my only gripe with the new system. It's just the force-a-hand operating system push that caused third-party company software to not work properly in some cases. One thing I will say about the Mac Pro that's bugged me since the beginning, and this is an Apple-based marketing thing, and everybody hopped on this bandwagon too, is just how the computer is modular. And I'm sorry, but that is the most load of crap, ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There's nothing modular about this computer. It's just a box with PCIe slots. There's nothing modular about it. The fact that you can change video cards, wow. I think every computer since even ISA slots a million years ago could do that. There is nothing modular about this. Do they offer a trade-in program for the motherboard to get a faster CPU? No. Can you use your own SSDs on their motherboard without a third-party adapter? No. So what's modular about this machine, Apple? I am baffled. And if they come out with some crazy workstation class ARM chip, will they offer a trade-up program because this computer is so modular? I have a feeling that won't be the case, and hopefully they'll prove me wrong. And speaking of Apple catering to professional users with this Mac Pro, they totally don't have it together. I mean, I thought I have this machine, now there's a single point of failure, so maybe I should have a spare power supply kicking around just in case something went wrong. And I thought this would be a really easy thing to do. I went on Apple's site and it was like, hey, if you need a new power supply, contact us. So I contacted Apple, and of course I got some person on the phone who has no idea what the Mac Pro is. And, they're like, well, did you check the Apple Store? And I'm like, yeah, it told me to call you guys. And they're like, oh, that's weird. I don't see it on the Apple Store. And I'm like, ugh. So anyway, after 25 minutes, they said they'd call me back the next day with the proper people to put in an order for a power supply. So the next day, Apple phones me and I'm like, hello? And they're like, yes, you guys called me, so what's the deal? And they're like, why are we calling you? They didn't even document what I was talking with them about the previous day, so I had to start again from the beginning. This time, it was almost 40 minutes to figure this whole thing out. So initially, they're like, we can't give you a price for it. You have to contact a third-party repair place that's Mac authorized to get the price. And I'm like, you guys make the supply and you don't know the price of your own product? Well, we'll have to contact an Apple store to see if they have any. Anyway, it was a whole rigmarole. And in the end, I managed to order one, and I had to treat it as a warranty claim for them to send me a part. And the idea is I have to send them back my old power supply card to get the new one for free. And I was like, I don't want a new one for free. I just want a spare. How hard is it to explain this? Having a second graphics card or an extra hard drive. I just want the power supply. Anyway, 3 days later, it finally showed up in the mail. So this is a Mac Pro power supply, and it's pretty well built. And surprisingly, for, a 1400 watt supply, it was only $480 Canadian with tax. So that's maybe $399 US shipped. So not bad, but they basically said, well, if you don't return the old one, you'll have to pay for the new one. I was like, that's exactly what I wanted. So anyway, all this rambling, it's basically Apple should have a professional division for their professional user base, because what I went through to get a power supply is the stupidest crap I've had to deal with in a while. And initially they were like, yeah, if you want a new power supply, you'll have to bring the machine in. A, it's COVID. B, it's a $17,000 computer. C, it's on a proprietary card right below a graphics card. So why would I have to bring the whole machine into an Apple store to replace a power supply? Like, it was ridiculous. So Apple, you guys really need a professional division staffed with people who aren't selling iPhones and consumer fodder, because those people on your front lines have no idea what any of this stuff is. And it's really frustrating as a professional calling in to get a part. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult. I should be charging you guys for my time, wasting all my time. But anyway, so my conclusion after that ramble is, yes, the Mac Pro's been worth it. It's working fine. It's pretty powerful. In hindsight, I may have gotten a 16 core if I wasn't running so many apps simultaneously. That machine is the best value for the dollar. And I'll get into that shortly with like a little self-contained buying guide for audio professionals. Anyway, I hope everybody's well and safe, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Feel free to comment. You guys know I'm pretty active in commenting on replies, so say hi. All right, see you later. Bye.